and also the insight. It came from some of the conversation that I had with the son of that elder on, so Navajo elder teachings. His son was communicating with me via email correspondence a couple years ago, and we actually got into a discussion thread on course. I'm just saying this for the purpose of inspiration and transparency. We got on in a discussion thread onto the meaning and the blessing and the bounty of what it means to be multi-ethnic, bi-ethnic, that is biracial, and that's what he had been. But but him differently, because I'm biracial with African ancestry, or with recent immigration from African ancestry, and European American ancestry, and he's of old ancient American, Native American ancestry, and recent European American ancestry. But a lot of my friends growing up were exactly like that. Like my best friend was my two of my best friends were both Native American and European American, biracial, but from different people. One was from a people of the East Coast, and one was from a people of the area we were at in the South, and we were very close friends. And a lot of my other friends in life have been different iterations of biracial. But some of my significant friends have been Native and European, and this man was like that. But but Jordan, but I only meant to say is that Africa is very diverse in genetics, but it's interesting that phenotypes can skip iterations of parents. So that makes a difference. Is that, like that woman said, is that just because a man is your dad, it doesn't mean that he is all of you or the same of you as you, and therefore he's not outright your father. So in the order, sometimes in the older pedigrees, they make a distinction, and this woman too is making a distinction where she's a white European American woman in the where we're at Minnesota, but she also grew up next to and under the sway of the church when the church was more influential, because she's older and the church was had a different, the reality was different, but the church had a different reality in the past that she grew up under. And back then they had a awesome revere for the church, but also for God, the name of God. And they wouldn't, and God as in God our Father, and they wouldn't mince the understanding of God and God our Father and as God with a mortal human being that is our dad, even in strict. And that's a patriarchal experience there, because America, white America, but also America, which is all of America is actually white America. Because when you're saying white, all you're saying is sovereign America. So if you understand yourself as sovereign, or you engage with America as sovereign, or you engage by America as America being sovereign, you are a white person, because that's what it is to be white, is to be able to read, write, and vote. And America works by people read, writing, and voting, and all that you've experienced and that you know yourself of, and is viable for you to get to do in America, under the auspices of America, but also in the realities of America, whether you're in the downstream mainstream culture or subculture or subculture or anything different. That's not away from, or that's not having to be calibrated by the status quo mainstream America, white American society. So all Americans are white Americans, as they may be believable as, and they may get to enjoy the privileges that come with that more or less to different degrees, because everyone actually has different degrees. Jake Paul himself and Mark Zuckerberg himself, they actually have different degrees of privilege and status, even though they're both influencers par excellence, rich par excellence. They're not rich the same way. They're not influencers the same way, and they also have different blessings, amenities, and things that they're afforded and deprived, and that they have to prove, and that costs them differently. So you could say that almost actually no two people are the same. No two African people are the same. No two black people are the same. No two white people are the same. But also, no two people get to be white the same way. That's what I'm saying, is because all you're saying with white is able to own property, that is protect property. And how do you protect property? With the rights that are afforded to you under the status quo as someone believable for holding property, and what you can do, even if you say you protect your property with the right to bear arms, you only get to do that because of of the politics, because of voting. So the only thing you can actually do, that the only thing you can do to have status, maintain status, and protect status, which is all to have status and enjoy status and get to exist, is to read, write, and vote. and that's being white. So that's all it means to be white. And so because America dictates the taste of the world, and I'm also saying that the deeper form of power, even deeper than influence, what's deeper than even influence is taste. Because if you're influencing people, it's because they like what you do. That is, they like the taste that you're bringing them. So you're actually just bringing them taste. So taste maker is actually deeper than influencer, because that's what the trend is. That's what sets the trend, maintains the trend, and throws the trend the hell away, along with all the trends influencers, is taste. So taste is deep. And I was talking a little bit about what it means to taste things. Do you have enough confidence to stick? You don't. All people don't necessarily have enough confidence to stick their tongue out of their mouth. So this is like there's an affirmative way to do something, and then there's a subject way, and a dictating way to. You can stick out your tongue like a dictator of taste, or like a subject of taste. A dictator of cool shit to say and do, or a subject. So this is the subject. This is the taste. So the Kiss, they call themselves Kiss, right? Them fools from Kiss, they're known as having a longer tongue than anyone, right? I don't know what they need a longer tongue for, but Kiss, right? When they stick their tongue out, they look away, ah! Right? But then this other one, but it's still sticking your tongue out. But you have to have the way no true people can stick their tongue out the same way, right? No true people can enjoy and dictate taste the same way. That's it. But I was also saying that taste is deep, because taste is one of the deepest things we get to enjoy, is actually the sensation of taste. And then also we make decisions based on our taste, and people like us based on your taste. So you can say, man, I think I love this person, or I don't know if I really love that person anymore. Part of that might be what their tastes are, and also what they give you to enjoy, which is a function of their taste. So the things that you can cook the right thing for someone, they love you, man. You cook the wrong thing, or you like eating the wrong thing, they're not gonna have anything to do with you. So they actually were engaging you based on your taste. But your taste, also what you know about, but also what's worth living for, has a lot to do with taste. It's interesting, like if you get to the top of something, you find out what it's about. So I was watching this video about some of these like MMA fighters. If you watch some real MMA fighters, I never saw them MMA fighters like, oh man, it about to be lit, man, cause I'm a fighter and everybody's on my jock, man, and we're about to be a party, about to be some honeys up in here, man. Man, I can't wait to go redeem all this clout around these honeys, man. I'm not saying that it's not what they're about, but I never seen them do that. The only thing I seen them get excited for is some food. All them fighters, they're like, oh man, what do we get to eat now that we're done cutting weight? Or I just won the fight. Oh, the belt, this and that. Yeah. But what are we gonna eat now that we don't have to worry about getting killed in the ring? What do we get to eat now? That's what they're saying. But what they don't know is that you can actually lose your sense of your taste around fighting. Because I was in college, and this dude was like, yeah, man. He was actually kind of egregious, because this was like in 2011 when things were still changing, and he would make homophobic statements in these like sociology classes, like kind of like being a jerk. But he also knew how to fight. So like if you would have stood up to him, it would have been like a fight like that. But he would make these homophobic comments, and then he was like, yeah, man, this and that, man. But I also used to be a fighter. But it was messed up, man. This one time, man, we were fighting, and then I got in this fight, and I couldn't taste anything for like like a month. I couldn't taste anything. I don't sure how long he said, but he really couldn't taste anything. And I was laughing under my breath. I was like, yeah, it's because that motherfucker knocked the taste out your mouth. That made me really like smug. Like I never been a smug person, but one time I actually really felt smug, and I was actually laughing. The best humor is like when the best things are by yourself, right? Some people say you shouldn't eat by yourself, but I say that shit tastes better by yourself. And the coolest shit you do by yourself, right? What you do with your tongue by yourself, or what you imagine, or you get to do with somebody. What you get to do, the best thing is by yourself, right? Whether that had to do with somebody tongue or not, right? But the best humor is also what you think to yourself, and what you laugh to yourself is the best humor. And I was laughing about how this homophobic dude, this wannabe like tough guy, wannabe frat. I don't think he was actually cool enough or sturdy enough to get into a fraternity. But I actually should slow down with that, because that dude might watch this video after. As strange, reality is stranger than fiction, and algorithms are stranger than reality. So the algorithm could actually probably show that it could probably figure out who was in all my classes, and which one of them would have been a fighter, which one would have been around in the time I'm talking about, and which one of them need to see this video of me talking smug to run that shit back. But he was talking about how he actually lost the ability to taste, and I was thinking that it's actually actually kind of appropriate. It kind of funny how somebody had knocked the taste out this dude's mouth. But that's just a deeper thing is that would you so you some people like you got Jake Paul or some no I gotta slow down. You got different people that talk about fighting. They're like, yeah, man, I'd be willing to die for this thing, man. I'd be willing to die to be champion of the world. Okay, so you'd be willing to die to be champion of the world. You'd be willing to get poked in the face that is essentially in that to or involved to be the champion. You'd be willing to do that to other people because this is bad to do things to other people because we are at one another and you can be traumatized by what you do to other people. Like you got what's his name you got Andrew Tate. My name isn't minced in the same sentence as Andrew Tate in a style forum. I'm referring to Casey Sanders' platform. He had a I was making posts in there and someone said, "Oh, da da da." That almost sounds like something that Andrew Tate would say. But I watched some of the older Andrew Tate interviews, and he actually crippled a person. He maimed a. He was a kickboxer. People don't know kickboxing is actually more dangerous than MMA because they get so good at them damn kicks, and those kicks could really hurt somebody. Like that real kicking business is actually more dangerous. The dangerous thing about MMA, the most dangerous part is the weight cutting. About like arbitrarily forming your body composition. That's the most you can do around any sport, including MMA. But beyond that is hella deadly, dangerous. And so people can sometimes people get like back in the time of the pandemic, like 2021. I was watching a video on 2021 of this like a low tier amateur kickboxing match in South America because like the world shut down, but also MMA was one of the only prominent, only viable sports during the pandemic. So it rose to it was already cool, but not it was already like out, it was already rock star shit, but MMA rose to the top of the world, the top of the internet, the front of the internet during the pandemic because of the restrictions, and actually people got to see what it's about. But I think it inspired a lot of people to take that up, and I saw like some people kickboxing in South America during the like 2021 in the pandemic, and this brother got kicked on top of his head, and he was just dead. He was in an amateur fight. He had on full gear because you think you're safe sparring like that. He had on full headgear. They're punching, kicking. He got kicked. He's now no longer with us. That even to be no longer with us sounds like a little bit like still here. He got kicked, and he simply never experienced that kick because nothing more of him shall be experienced by him or anyone else. How serious how just a kick can be like that. Kick but so when you're in that if you're in fighting like boxing that can happen. MMA, they say that hasn't happened on the. You haven't seen a lot of really bad injuries. It's interesting as graphic as MMA is. You don't see a lot of like really permanent injuries happen. Some people say that's because of the refing. Like there's this famous ref for MMA. He got dreads like me, and he would appear on the JRE a lot. And he was like a maestro, aficionado, connoisseur, rare skill set as a ref of MMA for a long time, and he would talk about how some of his decisions, and it was like it's kind of like if you think that like some of the things that you think that it would make somebody's mom scared to have to be in a ring, it actually makes the ref scared for these guys, like because he don't want to see somebody lose their life like that, because that's really tragic to lose a person's life or their able-bodiedness, but but Andrew Tate was a kickboxer. But some of the worst injuries are in kickboxing. But a lot of people haven't got hurt that bad from MMA. But when people do get hurt bad in MMA, it's around the kicks. Like whether they're giving them or taking them, it's around the kicks. So if you see something that go crazy, right? You seen Jorge Masvidal flying knee to Ben Askren. That image was so viral it swept the world. It took the world by storm when Jorge Masvidal did that kick. But the thing that was kind of strange about that is that I later watched the JRE podcast of when he interviewed Jorge Masvidal that very year prior to that. That happened. That famous flying knee was in the summer of 2019, but in the spring of 2019 or late winter of 2019, Jorge Masvidal appeared on the JRE podcast. But when he did so, he had just got back from South America. He was on yet another reality show in South America, a South American reality show that had to do with like competition. Like same thing I was saying how I was having to go up and get it how I live, out the mud, pay what I weigh in front of some of these training venues, like for cement masonry with ladies. They had these fools going up like that. They took these real athletes to South America, but they were Spanish speaking athletes, and they had all these difficult competitions, but knowing that they're actually athletes. And Jorge Masvidal was on that, but they, according to his testimony on JRE and some of the footage to go with that. But then he said that they were also sequestered from media like electronic devices and human beings, similar to like a military training. And so but different than a military training is that they still had liberty to go in the woods. Not that military people don't go in the woods, but he had liberties on his hand, and he got to enjoy the South American jungle, and he had a rebirth out there. He had he had a rejuvenating rebirth, and he came back to life with a new resolve and a new penchant for life. And he had the success to go with that. It started with he fought this famous he fought hang on, I'm broadcasting online, so just be careful what you say. It's a live broadcast. um but he fought an Englishman. I can't remember. It's this guy that he likes to fight, but he's not the best fighter, but he just likes to fight. And he beat that guy. I forget his name, an Englishman, and it was a little bit like Jorge Masvidal. He's had different like episodes and encounters and incidents like in England. But I like what he said. He said that when he goes to England, they have a different type of fans and like just like Canada has a different types of intellectuals. England has different types of fans, and also like they have like a bar culture and stuff like that. So what Jorge Masvidal said that I like is that he said in England they'll talk shit, but it's good faith. Like they'll be like, "Hey man, fuck you man, we don't like you coming over here starting shit with our boy man," but it's all love man. But they're laughing about it like that, right? But he was saying that like, but it can be different in other places. It can be differently. Like in Brazil, they're down with their person like that, but they're also having a problem with you. Like in England, they love to hate you in England, according to Taj to according I didn't stop referencing that man because I'm about to so according to Jorge Masvidal himself on both these points, he says that in England they love their people, they love their fighters, but they also love to hate their rivals. So they don't not hate the rivals, but they love to hate their rivals, and that they love to hate you, they still hate you, but they also still love to hate you, and they still love you even that they hate you because they do actually still love to hate you. But in Brazil, they love to hate you, but they love to hate. So in England, they love to hate you. In Brazil, they they love to hate you. And it's just that. But it's a deeper thing because in South America, like sometimes people don't know what they're about, what this thing about athletes is about, and also about fanfare, and also about idolizing people and worshiping people, like nearly making demigods out of people. In South America, an athlete was not just an athlete; they were a warrior. One is because the fight was to the death, so it's actually a real fight. But that too, sometimes the fight would settle the score for the army. So rather than all of us go together, so rather than all of us get out here and fight, and a lot of us are good at a lot of us don't want to be here fighting in the first place. Some of us are good at fighting, some of us are not. But if we go fight, we're gonna lose more people. It's gonna be more traumatic, and we're going to lose more value in terms of like talent and work power, know-how, all that. It's going to be more traumatic because a lot of us don't want to be here or aren't good at this shit. And the only thing worse than being killed by someone that's good at killing is to get killed by someone that's bad at killing. Like, can you imagine, like, heaven forbid, a clumsy fight, like inexperienced people fighting to the death? That's actually a little bit more ratchet and heinous. But in South America, they would just put the actual main best warriors up to fight and settle this shit. Then after they do that, it might be more on the table because then yeah, then they're gonna sacrifice everybody else just like the battle would, but it might be like a clean. I'm actually making I'm improvising this a little bit, but so you got two armies, right? You can let them go duke it out and let the chips fall where they may when the smoke clears, or you organize, you rank off, and then you go let the best warriors fight. Then after they get done, you're just more clean about whatever's left. So if we're gonna be taken as slaves, we're taken as slaves, but we're still able-bodied. Or if we're gonna die out here, heaven forbid, we're gonna die like that and be sacrificed, but it's not gonna be as traumatic or heinous as just like no holds barred, fight to the death, hand to hand combat for amateurs. That's worse than the scariest movie you can think of. But they're just gonna do like a religious ceremony, and it's just clean, man. You just gotta drink this thing, man. You just gotta sip this thing, man. But also, like, we'll be respectful to you while it happens. Like, that's actually the history of more or less. I'm improvising it, but the real history actually is that the best warriors would fight, and then they would actually settle the score, settle the fate. I'm not saying I don't actually know what the scores and the fates would have looked like, but they're gonna settle the fate and the score better than just a disorganized fight. They're gonna let the actual best warriors square it off like that, and it's gonna be clean like that. But they're gonna retain more value, and it may or may not be less horrifying for whoever would remain. Um, but so that might be why they would appreciate sports and sporting differently in South America, as like things like human sacrifice, gladiator, human sacrifice, gladiator, mojo, demigod, real actual, really kind of deep stuff like that. But it's a deeper history. But that's not different than any other part of the world, or even what currently goes on around sports, whether football, basketball, any sport you can think of. It's some lesser iteration of that, not necessarily less consequential because you still have money on the table and stakes and livelihoods, but it's actually some iteration of that former. It's different. It's a certain mode of war fighting, but it has different applications and expressions in different times and in different economic systems. But it's not entirely different in any region of the world, but it's a different expression in any region of the world, and that might have to do with why Jorge Masvidal appreciated that difference in distinction, nuance in England v Brazil like that. But then too, like, you imagine, like, just imagine like the movie Gladiator and stuff like that. I think that they had similar things like that in Europe, where you would have, like, you had gladiatorship, the Roman gladiators, but then too you had things like Braveheart and stuff like that. So they show Braveheart as like this leader of the army, right, leading the charge. But that's a deeper thing, where there's what is the difference between a warrior, a gladiator, an athlete, and a commando, like what we know as special forces. That's not all. There's a little bit of ambivalence about that, but you can see how it's different grades of what's expected of them, what they can do, what they are doing, how they're doing it, who they're doing it to, where they're doing it, who they're doing it with stuff like that. It's like a different. So we're always fighting all the time. Human beings, we can't help but to be fighting always in families, out of families, in relationships, out of relationships, in jobs, out of jobs, in communities, out of in regions, out of regions, in time, in technology, out of technology. We're always simply just fighting as human beings. But the only thing that is really constant is that there's some fetish around fighting. There's some skill around fighting. There's some things that are to be gained and lost for fighting, both socially, economically, personally, as a community. That's a lot about what the sport thing is about. Life itself is a sport. Even some military people talk like that. So that you had like Petraeus, like General Petraeus. He was one of the main generals in the Middle East, like in the last 20 years, but especially like in Iraq. I don't know how much he had to do with Afghanistan. I think no, he had a lot to do with Iraq. He had been from West Point. He was in the military in the past, like in the 90s and stuff like that. And I know he was shot once in training. Training is not actually training. Training is actually war, because you can get in any point of having to do with war, with any degree of fighting, right? When we're even thinking about fighting, we can start to get ourselves hurt. But then even when you're in training, you can be hurt in training differently, and that too sooner than you would as a civilian. So, and then also, if you're not taking training seriously, the way you would train, it can amount to actually your real experiences on a battlefield, or your last experiences, or your best or worst experiences. Similar like training, like sports, the way you practice is the way you perform, but also thereby the practice is part of the performance. The performance is in the practice, but then too in war and fighting, the training is part of the war. The war is in the training. But but he was like that. He actually went so far as to almost lose his life training one time. Like I know he was shot, and then he was calling shots in Iraq. I think they had like around the time of like between like somewhere between 2006 and 2008, that I think that the war in Afghanistan was existing then, but like I remember at that time, like a lot of people didn't know like what Afghanistan is, where Afghanistan is, what it is, how it is, the reason that they're fighting there, or the difference in. So Afghanistan was existing and it was getting ready to exist. I think the fighting in Afghanistan, it never actually stopped because like you had fighting like it was destabilized. So Afghanistan was destabilized by the Russians at least, but that it goes way back before that because you had a lot. Damn, I'm about to get myself in trouble talking about Middle Eastern politics and interregional stuff. I don't know about that, but what has anything to do with what I'm talking about here that I can understand is that you had a lot of fighting in both. You had a lot of like beautiful things in the Middle East. Like you had seats of learning, like in some of the, you could say that anything you're doing right now that you're getting to do, it's not different than the Middle East because the Middle East, they pioneered and revolutionized agriculture. So you had like Iraq, you had like the libraries of Egypt, the understanding of Egypt, the library of Alexandria, the Greeks, who are a lot about learning, like your Plato, Aristotle, stuff like that. The one of the really great thinkers that does not get enough credit that people look past, that also has a lot to do with anything that you're enjoying right now. The actual some of the very harmonics, right? The very whatever you like to do for music, but even you could probably say that the fact that these devices that we have are able to do what they do, they have to be harmonic to do that. It's not necessarily music, but actually for radio frequency to exist, for them to understand and manage frequencies and radio communication uh, well enough as the numbers go, and as the corresponding goes, the compatibility goes. That harmonics, that's still harmonics. Actually, a range of it as in music, but you actually have radio harmonics, and that harmonics was pioneered by Pythagoras. A lot of people, they go way the hell past Pythagoras. Pythagoras wasn't only about them triangles that they teach you in. I had this cold math teacher. He was so cold in school. He was one of my best teachers because he just simply didn't like me, but he also challenged me. But he also let me borrow his book. He let me borrow this book called Zero, a revolutionary topic. I think that Pythagoras, he may have actually not only did he give us like congruence, like his angles, right? So whatever you're at right now, that you would have a domicile, artifice, structure, building of some kind that you're in or near about, or that you get your livelihood around. The actual whatever they would be doing, they would understand of like principles of construction, architecture, different forms of masonry, different forms of city planning, different municipality things. Them have to do with the angles, congruence of angles and symmetry. That's part of Pythagoras. But not only that is that he also did harmonics. So whatever you enjoy of music, but also this radio business, it has to do with Pythagoras and his understanding of harmonics. So people way look past him, but I think he was a Greek person. But I had this teacher. He's like, "Oh man, I had this. Hey man, hey all you guys, all you students here. Hey man, you guys are in math class. Thanks for coming to math class because I'm also from this other school. Hold on, man. I gotta take a smoke break. I'll be right back. Not nothing bogus, like just actual tobacco. He didn't actually interrupt class, but that's just his he would be not far away from a smoke break when he was dealing with us. And he's like, "Yeah, man. So this is you guys, and this is math class, right? And I wait. Somebody was looking at me wrong. Do you think? See, that's what I'm talking about, right? Because like I said, so I came from over here, and we used to do things like this, and then we do like this, and I think you guys have that in your book too. And that would do, yes, that would. Like he had a chip on his shoulder he's already our teacher, right? He's already our teacher, right? But he has a chip on his shoulder and a penchant as a mathematician, but that too as an excellent mathematician. To just in case he's actually kind of like a military person. Like that's how a military person would be like, hey man, this is your first day. Wait, hold on. Had it been a problem? No, but I know I'm trained, but it hadn't been a problem. I just need to know would it had been a problem though, right? because I know it wouldn't have been a problem. Because that's how they get on me when it had been a problem like that. And I told, I'm just because you know, I do get, you know, we did get married last summer, and then we did have the ceremony when everybody's all the DIs had their baby mamas and stuff like that. But I've been tripping, and I still gotta pay for that stuff like that. And I just had that other stuff going on like that. And that's how they're always doing this stuff to me, man. They're always making me teach these idiots like yours, man. But we still got bills to pay, and she be messing up like that. And you're gonna act like this right here in front of me right now, like because. But I just, you know, did it actually had been a problem though? I know you're training, and but it had been a problem. That's how he was as that. But that's how this mathematician teacher was like the same way, like that, like having a chip on his shoulder like that, but actually still brilliant at the same time. And then he was like, but I also did have this book. It's just, I don't know why I don't know why I'm even showing you guys. It's just this book called Zero by Pythagoras. And if any of you ever did want to borrow it, I'd be willing to borrow it, but I would need to get it back. So nobody actually heard him on that. But I actually went up to him at the end of class. I was like, hey man, what's up with that book? That what's up with that zero? It's really called a zero book, and that's really your boy Pythagoras that you're saying is that code like that he made up the number zero. He was actually to count the number zero. He figured that out. Can I look? I'd like to look at it. He's like, hey man, you can look at this, man. But I'm gonna need it back, and if I get it back, then it ain't gonna be no problem between us. So I'm gonna get you can borrow it, but I just need it back just to make sure that it hadn't been a problem between us like that. So he was that cold dude like that. That's a cold lesson like that. And your best, some of your best mark. Sometimes the best mark because they say that A's work for people with B's. Um, B's probably get their heart broken by people with C's, but all of them are worried about and checking for it and ran by. And if they get to enjoy anything, they're getting enjoyed by people. And then people with D's, they're out on that street life, heaven forbid. But also they're yet probably cooler, and they're probably more convincing, like in a lot of respects, than even people that are good to go on the B's in the BA side, the B's in the A side. And also the ones that are breaking the hearts of the BAs, like with the C's, they're also checking for the D's. They need them some D like that. Because the A's work for the B's, the B's pay not unethical, but they pay whatever they earn by running the A's so that they can look cool in front of the C's. The chicks now, the C's who are also even sometimes higher ranking. Not that they got not that they got put ahead because they're beautiful, but just like a lot of beautiful people, whoever would be running the A's as B's, they got someone in their life even more beautiful that they're more worried about even than other B's. Like, and they're more so worried about the beautiful people. But and I'm saying like B's as like management class, like people that are winning past the A's, because you got the A's that they know they're able to answer a test, but the B's they might be better at just like figuring out like how the test works, or just they know about life and shit. Because you're using all them big words that got you the A plus like that, but we use the just more basic words because we don't care about that shit, but we just want to make things work. And also we're a little bit more convincing like that as the B's go. But then they got someone that they're in love with that never had to actually made it even to the job that the A got, or they do got the job that the A got, but they're just cooler like that because they're yet also still C, like as in the letter cool, but they're beautiful and they're breaking the heart of the B like that. But even where the person with the cool person, the letter C, as I'm saying for analogy, and the grade spectrum goes, they they uh they're not tripping about A's and B's, or they might have anything. They probably wouldn't have nothing to do with the A, but as they're dealing with another B, they're still actually thinking about a D out there somewhere, and they might run across them in D. And if I had got all B's and I got a job to go with that, but I'm still checking for and tripping about, somebody that never got past C's, but it's still to me more important than anything else I could do with or get on past with the whatever I get by at least achieving a B past the A's with that, you know, she's still gonna be. I don't know if all the way be. It would just be just a bit concerning if she had ran across the right wrong D at the right wrong time. If you're being honest like that. But the D probably might not be inside of any job or anything like that. But then you get all the way to the F side, man, because everybody favorite one is the longest number since the number one, but everybody's favorite letter is F, and everybody would have nothing better to do than to mess with them F. And F take the F take the cake, even past some of the D boys. The F, because the D boys are still they like nice shit. They gotta pay for nice shit, but also as hands down the top of the totem pole It's whoever is most believable around the letter F. Whoever gives the list of F or gives the best F, like that. So I'm not that type of time. No type. I'm not that type of time. But your best teacher is the mark that actually gives you an F. If a teacher really like you, if they really give an F about you, they give you an F like that. And because there's no cutting no corners like that. It's no halfway crooks over here. It's no halfway scholars over here. But they actually ain't pulling no punches with you. But if anything, they're better. You're better, and they're better, which is better for them. It's better for you because it's better for them, but also better for them if they just would be honest with you, man. It had been an F that you earned right here. But if you take this little F, but you remember the way, and if you have enough respect for me after giving you this F, to remember the way I handed you this F and what I showed you as I was getting ready to, or before I hand you this F, you can still do with this F anything that you can do with any of those other letters if you keep that passionate interest, but also that book. I recommend any book by how to do it with Pythagoras, but also that letter that you'll never be less than a zero if you've at least read this book Zero, with the referencing your homie Pythagoras is what the math teacher told me. And when I talk about that brilliant math teacher like that, you wouldn't know that that had been a soul brother like that. His name sounded like a soul brother, but he was actually a soul brother. But sometimes you need like it take a man to build a man. It take a black man to make a black man. I'm gonna be honest. Like I should say it take a soul brother and a mathematician to make another soul brother and a mathematician. But it ain't gotta be nice stuff like that. So shout out that man, my second best teacher. That was my second best. My best teacher was Miss Music. No, actually, I would say she might actually be my second teacher, best teacher, because she was about my best teacher because she let me know what I could do. But my best teacher was this math teacher that gave me a effing F because he told me what I don't get to do unless I do it properly. Even the F, even if you don't give an F or you give an F or you get to give an F or you get your F to give, not you don't get the chance to give an F or have an F, whatnot. There's also things worse than an F. There's you just let worse grades than an F, like an N, like no nothing, no not no nah, 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 nah. So if he would have never let me check out that book, or he never would have been mean enough, he would have been nice. You should be nice while also giving me an N. That would have been worse because then that's no credit now. Life is about credit. We don't got money. We got different forms of credit and debt. So no credit with the end. That's actually no nothing, no fun, no nothing with the end. But he just gave me a boy F like that. But you can do with this F anything you would want, anything brought you here in front of me. You can still do with this F if you remember the manner of it. But also that you still gotta pay for this F. You gotta pay for this F now. But the lessons you learn paying for this, I was paying for those lessons when I bumped into some of those experiences with the piece of stuff I talk about. I was having that F on my mind, but I was also recovering and compensating for for getting that F place for me. But I still got on in education. And that's another thing not to give up because he taught me is that yeah man, life is some mean ass shit, but also even so is a chalkboard some mean ass shit. It sounds like nails, but also math can be some mean ass shit. It takes effort to learn it, but also it can be used against you for some mean ass shit. But if you keep going for what you go for, you can still learn. So I actually was able to get past that into good schools and get on the dean's list in other schools and then get into other venues, which I still got more work cut out for me. But that F it wasn't the end of my collegiate career or my viability because when people took a look at me on paper, they could see that different things had been going on, but that I also can actually do well in class. They could see that I can do well and that I tend to do well when I have to, and I do a lot of doing well when I get the things going on. But I noticed that I do better the farther away I am from family. So on this very video, I was like, hey man, I'm doing da 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 da. But I actually do way better the further I get away from family. But then that has to do with so you really have to look at what and where and how something works for you. But but so but Jorge Masvidal, he had that experience of like a rebirth, but he was in that JRE and he's like, yeah man, I'm about to have this fight in the summer, but I just like I'm about to I feel different about this man. I'm so he was actually it was actually scary how solemn he was about his future and success, but he's also a fighter, so his future and success, if it's convincing, that's gonna mean beating other people convincingly in fights if that's what they signed up to do. So it was actually a little bit of a foreboding about some of the actual brilliance he would have. So it's actually deep when you appreciate where he was coming from, what he's getting off of, and what he was about to get through and pass and become and do on the world stage. But I was just showing that how significant those kicks are like that because he had kicked that brother Ben Askren with a flying knee, and then if somebody were to get a kick is very significant like that. But Andrew Tate had actually crippled a person in a kickboxing match. That's what I was saying is that, and so he was saying that he was talking about that on one of these podcasts that he actually crippled. He put a man in a wheelchair, not put a man, but a man put himself there by being a fighter, but the man became the aftermath of their engagement was that the man was in a wheelchair. But I'm saying is that a lot of people that like to be a fighter or of some kind, right? The only thing that I see, the only thing that I consistently see fighters relish, even Jorge Masvidal too. I see him, he something lights up in him when he talks about food. I don't know what it may be something about pressing your body. And I was also saying in the same series that food is an acquired taste. Enjoying food, which is enjoying yourself, which is assimilating yourself to yourself, which is actually not very different than actually procreation. Because a lot of times when people are procreating or they're about to, they're going on dates for food. It's not very far away from food, but then also they're doing things with their mouth when procreating. So the mouth, a lot of the best things that we ever get to enjoy are around like creating ourself, which is also like our progeny, which is ourself, procreation. But then also when we're creating ourself, like our physical body, mind, will, and emotion, as the food goes, it's having to do with the taste. And so I'm saying is that creating yourself or your progeny, it's very similar to food. It's a lot to do about like assimilation, but also enjoying. And the main part of that is like that is food. So when people are enjoying food, that's one of the, you don't see how that could be sexual, but some foods actually are known to be sexual. Like I said, like fish is a it's an aphrodisiac. Not only aphrodisiac, some things are aphrodisiac in that they arousing, but fish actually sustains sexual activity. Fish makes a person more actually potent and better able to enjoy sex, not just be aroused by sex. Fish is one such thing. And so like all these people that pop up like, hey man, I just wanted to let you know you're nothing like me. You'll probably never, in their mind they're like, you never get, you're not there. But if you also had this that I have an interest in telling you about, then all you got to do is do this, and now you won't have da 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 da. But actually, all I had to be was just some fish. If they're honest, man, hey man, I know I'm popping up on your feed right now because it appears that you like certain type of you like certain type of venues or content on this digital space. But if you ever had any doubt about anything, just make sure you eat fish once in a while. Like not too much. Like they should do like Fish Friday, good to go. Once a time is good to go. But just actually you go to McDonald's or something like that. Just get you that. So who's better? Who's if I'm not. So I'm saying is that rather than me come on here, monetize the video, try to advertise this and that, medicine, this and that. I'm saying is that if you ever doubted yourself about anything, but also you like to enjoy anything, but you also doubt if you can enjoy anything. It don't gotta be more sophisticated than go to McDonald's and get their they got. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to associate McDonald's or anything, but they have like a cheap, not cheap, but an accessible fillet, like fish fillet. McDonald's has it. I think other restaurants do, but McDonald's has a great one. Get you a fish fillet. If you were that concerned about it, get two of them. By the time you get done eating that fish fillet for that next half a day and day, maybe beyond that, but at least that long, you actually are more potent than you otherwise would be. That might have more to do with actually conception and performance. I don't know how that actually has to do with arousal, but I think that's still part of it. You're actually you're somewhat fold some amount of times fold more potent and viable as a partner to someone for things like procreativity and enjoying people intimately, physically, with nothing more than just fish. Whatever it doesn't actually. I don't know that there probably would be some distinction of what fish and how it's prepared, but just basically, one fish is still a fish, and fish, according to this Jewish rabbi, they don't close their eyes and they exist differently than other beings, and it's not the same thing as meat. So it don't got to be nothing to cost you nothing, and it don't got to be nothing to worry about. Fish is actually enjoyable to eat, and also to feel the effects from is fish like that. Um, but the only thing I see that these fighters really that they really feel a way about and that they really enjoy they enjoy. You can ostensibly say that if you're the belt, right? I don't know why you would want a belt. Like, I don't. What does a belt actually do for you? Because if anything, the best thing is when you take the belt off. That's what I would think. So maybe it's to that you want it. So you have. I don't think you want to take it off around like, oh, it's about to be the head honcho. The man is about to strap the strap. Okay, but when you take it off, so you want to have the coolest person in the world, but also a grown ass man, whose style, whose hairstyle might not even be doper than a jackass on here like that. You feel a way, you're risking life and limb, so he can come up close to you behind you, and put something around you like that. Okay, but then, so because he did that, like you had a sweet tender moment with a grown man like that, that's past the hairdo. But I'm not saying he ain't getting it in too. Then you want to wear that thing around that someone just put on, so nice like that. Then someone is attracted to that thing, and also how nice that it was put around you by that person that was important enough to for you to give a damn about who they are, or that they put a belt on you, but they still like you more because he also did that nice thing for you, and you're wearing it now. And then you get somewhere, so who takes it off? Does he also come? Hey man, it's one of those, all good, man. We were believing in that whole time, man, and we were supporting you, and that's why I did this and that, and so I put it on. But now I see some change, so I just want to be the one to come around and just take it off you like that. Do your thing, you do what you got. I don't know if that might be cool or not, but I hadn't did no, but I didn't know, but so I'm saying that I don't know what the thing about putting a belt does for you, other than like it makes you believe in yourself, it makes you more attractive and or potent. I would guess. What's the best thing a belt can do? Yeah, I had to work 75 years for my belt in the da 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 da, and it's not even a black belt, it's a this color and the da da da, and I wanted my belt in the da da da. But you more so want to take it off, right? If it's the best thing I can imagine about a belt is to take it off, but essentially with it on, it either makes you more potent, that is, you believe in yourself, which is potence, or attractive. Um, but Yeah, a little bit diverged with that. But you would be willing to risk life and limb, but also potentially maim other people, which could hurt your psyche, is bad. And that actually does have real implications, because I think that some of the things about, like, we don't know, like, we actually don't know a lot of, we don't know a lot of things that we think we do. Like, you think that, so all you know of the military, right? All you know of the military is whatever, like most people, I imagine, I don't know if many, if it'd be interesting to walk, like, how like they do this stuff, like they walk up on the street and they hand somebody a camera. They're like, "Hey man, so what's really up about you and this girl right here? And is she over?" You have somebody like actually be forward and aggressive enough to press somebody about, like, to press a lady and or her boyfriend about her and or her boyfriend, such as to actually impact the dynamic between them. Because that's very aggressive. If someone asking you a question, if a man walk up to another man and punk him out in front of his girlfriend, she may love him enough. She may still love him no different, but she's still gonna look. She can't help but to look at him like somebody that just got affronted by another man. But actually, a question is almost as aggressive and forward, and could do as much damage to people's bond as anything that you would do physically or verbally. And a question is a part of and not different or less than an actual insult. So you got people run up on someone, ask them a question. But what'd be more interesting is to run up on a man, right? It'd be interesting if he was with his girl, every time Bo's with his girlfriend or not. Just run up on a man, right? And you ask him about like politics, right? Like, so do you vote? Oh hell yeah, I vote, man. So would you ever, like, how would you feel like if somebody made it hard for you to vote? That'd be bullshit. What would you do if like they try to like change the laws about voting? I think that's messed up, man. Because we came along with, okay. What do you think about, like, do you think that is that the vote is worth it? Do you think that voting changes things? Yeah, I think it does. Like, because you're just like one person, right, out of a lot, but your vote counts for something, right? So say you had a job, right, and you had been doing your job really well, but you actually had an injury because you were trying to work out on the side so you could be healthy, so you could do your job better and do it longer by being healthy. But you actually got just barely injured, not entirely injured, but so much that it was excruciatingly painful to do your job, such that you actually couldn't do it safely. But also, your job had people lives on your hands, so you couldn't do it comfortably, damn well, or almost even safely because you're in so much pain. So it caused you to have to call some shifts off, right? In that too, like in the middle of the day, because you start your shift, you're okay, but the pain increased. So just that very fact that you had that, not an injury, but just some pain, and it actually caused a little bit of friction with your command or your leadership. But then also your job, you're a leader in your job. but you also have to check in with oversight and to scrutinize and validate your decisions because you have real lives on your hands, not least of which your own, because your comportment on the job and your duties are that real in the field for yourself and anyone that would be traveling anywhere, doing anything in broad society. You could impact anyone. You could change anyone's day. You could change anyone's future. You could change any family future for better or worse based on how well you do your job, such that you want to be healthy, but also you wouldn't want to do it under pain. But you also got to check in with the leadership, and you calling this shift or that because you're in pain does aid affects that, right? But now it's time to vote. Now you're already on the odds or near about on the odds with your leadership, which is all your interactions with your leadership are broadcast to your entire peer set, who also have as much liability and pull in the community and in your life. All your doings are broadcast to the entire base, the entire fleet, and almost the entire customer base, because these radios are so broad that even the very customers, school age customers, adult customers, and that too, powerful people in the area that would have access to a radio, leadership, political leadership, regional leadership, city leadership, district leadership that you know of and don't know of that would frequent these. They can all see that dynamic between you and your superior. And also your thought process, but also how that banter and report affects your ability to do your job. But that too, while you're both being observed by all that, because you know you're being observed by all that, and observation changes things. It's been appreciated on the quantum level, right? But now it's time to vote, and you really aren't. You had a lot of that going on already. You're not quite sure if going to vote this day, if it could really still uptick that. It wouldn't necessarily get you fired. It would not get you fired if there had been a problem about the dynamic. Not that you can't get out way to vote, but however you got going on in your life, the way that you would have to do that to vote, however so subtle, it could potentially put in jeopardy one day. You might have to stand up for yourself or compromise something that would impact your relationship at your work with your colleagues and superiors and maybe even your customers at work by you going to vote. Would you still want to vote? Even though you're just that much of a number in a bigger swath of people, millions of people, hundreds of millions of people voting today, would you still want to do that? Yeah. Okay. So what about like all that same type of dynamic, right? All that same stuff. But this time you got guns on the line or not, and you're at home or not. Would you so you would you would work for your ability to vote, right? Would you would you would you fight for your ability to vote? Okay. Would you lie for your ability to vote? Because lying's not always necessarily illegal or bad. Because some professions, right? So like you have like fighting, right? Like you have military, this and that. Military deals with intelligence. That deals with different levels of sophistication and savviness around both hard and soft things, around technology, dealing with other human beings, fighting other human beings, understanding human beings, circumnavigating, ambushing, evading, detecting, fleeing other human beings on the technology, but also in soft in reality, you have to be savvy enough to be in and out and be believable or be trustworthy or be trusting or be trusted by or be loyal to in the line of duty. You may actually be asked to lie in the line of duty if it had been real enough, military or civil side. Um, uh, I'm saying at least as a problem for non-civil. So actually I shouldn't say civil, but like as far as like protecting people, right? Some form of security, right? You're understanding yourself to provide security. So actually, military personnel is actually a security person. They're security guard because they're fighting for the interests of security, national security, or regional or local security, right? So whether and at any level of that, whether that's a sanctioned armed services or a recognized armed services, designated armed services, or a peace officer, which is still armed services, but it's a different distinction or different ranges of that, you could potentially be asked to lie because this is that mission, right? Y'all about to go over there and fight, right? Because you actually know there you got a whole bunch of them in a barn over there, right? You're about to go fight them. They're hiding in a barn. It's known they're hiding in a barn, but you actually can't. But where they're fighting in the barn, you can't go in there with guns blazing because you had to get between actually there's civilians that have a farm there, and because of the rules of engagement, the Geneva Convention, you cannot put bullets or ordnance or even punch people inside that barn until you know there's someone inside that, until you have visual confirmation of a person with either military equipment or military insignia or the actual combination of male cohorts that would betray military activity or initiative, because there'd otherwise be no need to have, there'd be no viable reason to have that many able-bodied men together in that vicinity. You have to lay eyes on that according to the Geneva Convention, and because of that, you have to walk past this civilian and you have to knock on the door dressed like something or sounding like something, and they may or may not, and they'll probably know that they may or may not know that you're a civilian or not, they may or may know that you're American or not, but you have to be dishonest both to that civilian who's standing there and potentially to them standing there, as that may be the last thing the two of you ever see. The last thing that you will ever see is yourself lying to this person. The last thing that they will ever see is you lying to them. That, and then if you survive that, or you know that your comrade did that, and you maybe you had to sell it, right? You had to butter up that lady so that you could butter up, or that lady, and you had to butter up that family. They're hiding those soldiers there. Those soldiers, they began the war very fervent, but they were also traumatized and they don't want to be part of it anymore. But they actually are being forced to by their command. But they're yet also terrified because they know what kind of equipment you guys have. But they're hiding there. That family knows what those people are going through, and they're supporting them there. But they're not. You actually could. You're savvy enough, right? You're intelligent enough. You passed the highest level on your entrance exam, so you're sophisticated enough and maybe even attractive enough to sell past one. Because they also got a girl there. They got a teenage girl there, and so she cares about those men too. But you might be able to win her over based on your banter and rapport and your appearance. And when you do that, then your buddy's gonna get through there, and then he's gonna lie to them, and then they can be easily, but also heinously and painfully obliterated to their trauma, horror, and demise, but also to the trauma, horror, and maybe potentially future demise of that family that will see that happen. But also that's gonna involve lying like that. But also that serves, as you understand, as you understand, as these people you're voting for would have you understand that supports and suits national interest. Would you do such a thing? Okay, yes or no, or you may or may not, right? Whether or not you would do any of that to vote, do you also know where you can be conscripted? Do you actually know the recruiting stations in your vicinity for the different armed services? You would like to vote. You would like the privilege of voting. You would like the service of the people that you vote for. They're public servants, and then they're engaging other public servants that could potentially do something as incredible and dire and drastic is what was described there. But do you actually know where you can join the armed services and potentially fight, and if it had came to it, heaven forbid, die for your own ability to vote or to enact what will be mandated by other people voting? Would you be willing to do such a thing? It'd just be interesting to run up on average men and ask them what they know about accessing opportunities to conscript themselves to some form of fighting of their own volition, whether even as military, as college educated officers or as enlisted men. And would you be willing to join as an enlisted man or an officer? You go to some ROTC people. Is your ROTC, would you be willing to be enlisted? Or if you are ROTC, would you be willing to serve in enlisted ranks anonymously so that you're still an officer, but you're not known as an officer and you have the exact same rigors, duties, and dangers as an enlisted man? Would you be willing to do such a thing? It's just interesting to ask. That'd be an interesting question to run up and ask people. But the only reason I said that is because a lot of people don't know anything about what really a lot of things you can't compute what is actually happening to people under the auspices, but also under the sanctioning and the resources and the subsidies of different things that are sanctioned by state funds up to and including the military, such that when you hear about service members taking their own life and things like that, you think that, oh yeah, man, they just they went down to as far as I can imagine, some recruiting place. They may or may not have had experiences like I've seen on TV, but also they didn't know that that's a nonstop experience. The moment you take serious thinking about military anything, you really actually take serious thinking about it so much as to look twice at a business card, to pick up a phone, anything that scare you because you know you can just barely imagine how horrible, how real military you might die like that. That never stopped being that serious. It never stopped being that serious. It never actually ever stopped being that serious as to really think about you could actually die doing something. It never stopped being like that. But two, it never actually stopped being real that whole time because just because you go to sleep, you're about to join the military, right? You got 5 days left before you join the military. There ain't no normal 5 days. There ain't no normal last 5 times talking to nobody. Yeah, that's on you. That's heavy on you. You're about to go do some heavy, heavy lifting, right? But also that's about to change you, right? It's already changing you before it started because of what you engaged. But what I'm saying is that it never stopped. It's not like the movie where you turn it on and off, or you get to the crazy part on and off like that. It's crazy the whole way through. It's real the whole way through and after. But what I'm saying is that when you hear American service member take or any service member take their life, it's not just because they went to the place that you can imagine. They went to some training, but as you can imagine, yeah, they got paid for it, but that stuff probably wasn't that real because boot camp isn't the same thing as a real thing. And yeah, they went over, but they're probably driving around in some trucks and stuff, and then probably something blew up, or they saw somebody get, they saw some gun, they saw something happen, and then they also came back, and then now they're just like these guys like driving around some trucks and crying into beers and stuff like that. And then they just one time they took their life. No, no, no. That stuff is that stuff is so that's so that stuff is actually really happening, like really like I remember like one thing, if you actually heard the way that recruiters talk, the way recruiters talk, like you see the way the recruiter, oh yeah, so what was your score in high school, what was your score in English class, or what was your score in math class? Oh man, my math teacher was really hard, man. He was so hard, he didn't believe in me, but it actually made me a little bit better at football because of how tough he was. But I think I got a 69.99%, and that's why I was able to graduate high school and talk to you right now. Oh, okay. So you got a 69.9999999%, right? Yeah, because oh man, that's the way they think about things. Oh, that guy has a strong mind brain. Maybe I'll be like that if I'm like that. That's the recruiter talking like that. And he also knows about. He actually doesn't seem like intimidated by my parents. And he also like he's been around the world, and he kind of seems like can change the life. Like all this horrible stuff, all the jealousy of my friends, and the dead end jobs, and like the girls that don't care about me, and like the neighborhood that I really don't like, never did, but I don't know how to get away from it without some other thing that I can only imagine going somewhere, and I don't know how to do that. He knows a way to get past all that right now, right? That's how he showed you to that. But behind your back, they're like, yeah, that guy's actually, he's probably gonna die over there. He is it, he'll probably be one of the first ones to die over there. If he's sounding like that, because they're going to the north, and you know how it is in the north. Every time they come through there, they being it's that he, I imagine we talked to him and those other guys on the other side of the street. Between all of them, we can appreciate probably some of them. One of them would have to probably get injured. Probably at least two of them are gonna have to. You may have at least two KIA, and but that'd probably actually be less to pay for than the actual services at the VA. But we will have to accommodate that if we got them, and then we got those other districts. Between all their careers, there probably be at least five. We're looking at least five. No, probably at least 2 to 5 life insurance policies that will be redeemable. And then if you look at the VA, by the time that they get all their services, you probably will have some of them that will have that will be traumatized by what they're going to see, especially the ones that are going to the north. And then when they get back, they're going to have services with that. But we're also getting compensated for the medical services, and those are going to be paid for. But we actually are going to have to lose resources on the over time. Whatever it would have to do with like anything of physical rehab, we're gonna. That's the way they're actually talking about real human beings, the recruiters, or at least they're the people that are telling the recruiters what to do. So if you actually know what those experiences are getting ready to be, their last experiences, make a person wish they had never been born. If a trainer's honest with you, they're gonna say, man, if that would happen, you're gonna wish you never been born like that. But that's actually what's taking place. So what I meant to say is that what's significant about that is that not only is that stuff being done to them, but that's actually what they're doing to people. And by the time that a person would do that to another person, in that moment, in that at the highest pitch of ecstasy, but also of violence, both ecstasy and violence is intimacy par excellence. So much of intimacy as to dispense with self and other. Were you to hurt someone bad and be hurt, or see people hurt, or hurt other people, or potentially be hurt, or nearly be hurt, or be at, or come across, or watch your fate go in front of you, what could have happened to you? That is so traumatic that you see that we are actually one another. So in things like fighting, like martial arts and stuff like that, hurting another person could be as bad as getting hurt. But I was saying that um uh um uh um Andrew Tate actually did maim another person so much that they can't walk, and that would have to weigh on him for the rest of his life. He kind of wore it a little bit like a badge in the interview, like he brushed it off. He glossed over it in the interview so much as to like seem like like macho or like bravado how he did it, but it still sit with you because even though you have bravado about it, it might even help you get a look or something like some traction like that. Yeah, but when the camera start rolling and like when you wake up, that person is still hurting like that. That person is still not able to do certain that things don't stop with like certain injuries. So someone could actually get maimed and they could still have an interesting life, but their life shall never be the same if it's as bad enough as that they're now committed to a wheelchair indefinitely, and such is also the psyche of a person. But what I was saying is that a lot of people they would risk all that. They'd risk maiming their losing some of their traction around like vision, walking, and doing that to other people. I saw one brother get in the time of the pandemic. He was like a football fighter, and then he came over on the MMA side, and he went up against a European fighter who was a veteran, seasoned, real, not only a mixed martial artist but a true martial artist. I'm not saying mixed martial artists are not true martial artists, but he was more so reminiscent of your true martial artists like that in the real honor and spirit. Like if you can imagine like a real like Bushido, samurai, Kshatriya, Spartan, but with the skill set to go with that and the history to go with that and the no just no kidding, just real martial artists. He kicked his brother like an upstart, but talented upstart in his solar plexus that allows you to breathe. That's about as bad as a person can get it. I think he survived that. But the only thing I'm saying is that the only thing that I've seen them fighters really relish, like they like the sexiness of the strap. You see them a little bit like fetishize getting the belt, but you never see them like, yeah, because I'm about to get laid with the belt, because I'm about to flex in front, because you have to have some fans checking for you in the first place because you're a fighter, but also all the way up to a belt. But the only thing that I really seen them get giddy about and excited about is food. Like, and I'm saying that in this video that sometimes I think that certain experiences, but also certain insight and intelligence, it allows you to understand and then better enjoy something like food differently and even better and demonstrably better and differently, such as that you engage it differently. As like sometimes people that are very savvy and overweight, they're very savvy about a lot of things, they're very clever about a lot of things. They know the way technology works, they know the way that bosses work, they know the way that people work, they know the way that a lot of things work, but they also know the way that food works. They know that sauce that you never thought about, on all kinds of sauces, but especially food too. They know about that sauce you never thought about. They know about that technique about a microwave or not using a microwave that you never knew about how to hook it up just like that. And that shit really be beautiful how they hook it up like that. So much that that's so beautiful that they like there'd be this thing like in the Lord of the Rings, like where when the ring is starting to speak to them, like they start looking at other people another way, like man, who is this person in front of me that I need to get away from this thing right here? But that it might actually get like that around food. Like if you get like really cold food moods, the food starts to be so you appreciate it so deeply, because like food is part of you. So love for food is similar to love for self, and that's not bad, and it doesn't have to be bad, but it can be as horrible or as beautiful as anything. And the deepest thing that you'll ever do, that according to Arthur Avalon, is that there's actually nothing that people don't do from a standpoint of self-interest that it can't actually be done by a human being, just from the very vantage point, perspective, and experience, but also reality of a human being. constitution, a makeup of a human being is that you can't do something, especially a male, you can't do something that's not out of self-interest, that's not tampered, untamed, and likely inspired by some form of self-interest. Yeah, you're about to die for your comrades, but they're your comrades. So you're dying a point. They're also part of you. So you're dying for yourself to do that, or emboldened for yourself. The reality of dying for your comrades or yourself is different than what you think about it. But you would still be willing to entertain it based on self-interest. But according to Arthur Avalon, people don't do nothing, not become famous, not do charitable things, not do spiritual things without some form of seeking of self-aggrandizement, traction, success, fame and fortune, but even more so fame, if you're honest, because fame will have people do things even that sometimes fortune won't do, like for things like credit and stuff like that. And you more so want fortune to enjoy with either when you want fortune, you want it to enjoy in front of other people or to get things from other people. But it's still having to do with other people, so it's like still some degree of fame like that. Is even if you were just to walk up to you walk up to a place where people would expect you to be there and be able to afford something, and you're all about money. You don't care about the money. Fuck the fame, right? Yeah, but you actually still want to be famous in front of the person that's selling you something because you want to sell. You go to this, even if it's an online transaction, you still feel smug and satisfaction by procuring an online transaction. In the back of your mind, you know that certain people are going to have to see that, yes, he was able to afford this rare shit. He's going to have to, they're going to facilitate that. You might be a number, but they're still going to facilitate this rare shit, this sexy shit, this exclusive shit to you. They're going to prepare it well with you in mind, thinking of you. It's a quality thing. They're all about the money. They're all about their product. They're all about their craft. They're not entirely concerned with what you do for a living or what you look like, but they're also curating with tender thoughts of you in mind. And then you get this rare thing, and it has a blessing in it that you didn't actually ask for. It wasn't part of the sale. It has a note or a line or even an advertisement, a liner, that's some exclusive thing you wouldn't know about. It's also this tender affections of other people based on the fact you're able to afford something. So that's actually, yeah, still fame. It's a finer thing, but it's still fame. So people do things for fame, that is. But the only way I think that you can really love another person, true love outright, true service, true loyalty, is when you understand them as yourself. You can't be loyal to another person until you understand them as yourself. You can't love another person until you understand them as yourself. You can't serve another person until you understand them as yourself. Not the same as you, but a mode of you, or they're not the same as you, but they're not different than you. That could say that's when love is. When did we fall in love? When was this bonding? When did you lose yourself with another person, or for another person, or towards another person? It's when you understood that this person is different than you, but they're also that they're different than you, but you and them is not different than you, or they're different than you, but they're also you, and they're more of you for being different than you while being you. That's a lot of like what bonding is, if you think about it. But you're not actually. I don't think it's true, or it's convincing, or it's tractable, or it's convincing until on some level you understand them as some part of you. And even if you understand them as, even if you say that people are one the other, but you still respect them and know them as different than you, they have to be your story. So they're different than you, but they're your story. So you can imagine, it might be interesting that maybe sometimes like you have like enemy. If you had like, say you had two people from a fight, right? You had like, sometimes in World War II you'd have trench warfare where they could actually be within earshot. And I was reading a book about, there's some beautiful testimony of World War II where sometimes the lines were so close in World War II that they could hear each other bantering, they could hear each other coughing, they could hear each other talking, and they'd be actually having like a ongoing workable working relationship while killing each other and not stopping to kill each other. But sometimes there'd be a truce about it, like where like around the holidays and Christmas, where they would actually start singing songs together. They actually got to a point. There's actually incidents in World War II where these battle lines, entrenched battle lines, rats running through them, corpses running through them, nonstop, can't stop fighting going through them. Around the holidays, they'd be, or they would actually respecting one another. They'd actually have, see, all things have rules of engagement. So even as you're at very trench warfare, sometimes they would respect one another's supply lines, and that, yeah, man, these trucks are coming with the guns and bullets, but if we blow up their truck, it's not that they actually like each other, but it's like if we blow up their truck that has guns and bullets and food, but we blow up the ones with the food, then they're not, they're going to also blow up our trucks with the food. But If we respect their trucks with the food, then they'll respect our trucks with the. So what we can do is we can blow up their trucks, but then they're gonna blow up our trucks, and we're all gonna starve out here. Or we can let them have their trucks, they let us have our trucks, and then we can fight it like men. That's actually the real reasoning and reality of what happened in certain like World War II. But it'd be interesting is that, and then sometimes they would actually get all the way on to like singing. One of them would start singing. It takes a lot of courage to sing publicly, but also in very tough and very antagonized venue settings. But someone had the courage to start singing, like caroling in these trenches like that, and it actually made a real truce between the men. They came over and they started like sharing. I was reading a book. I got a reference to a book I was reading a book that's from a book I was reading. It was talking about that episode. Um, but they started sharing like effects, like affections, like tobacco and stuff like that, and then like exchanging, like I think like they had photographs back then in World War I, and talking about one of the other's wives. And so these men had actually amounted to not only a truce but a peace and reciprocity and a friendship, but their command wouldn't let that happen. I don't know how that fell back into war from that, but they had actually got to a point of being so much of still being, because you're still humans that whole time. Humans can get along and love one another even in the worst of times, the worst of settings. So your comrades, you can be brothers at arms with each other, but you also do have mutiny and actual like friendly fire, but also intentional friendly fire. There is such a thing to exist in times of war, but you can have the opposite of that, and because we're still human beings like that. So the so I meant to say is that it would be interesting though, is that if you had like two people who had been at war together, right? They found out that they had been at the same battle together and at the same trenches and at the same position together in the battle lines, but they actually didn't see each other's face right there. But then they realized later, like there's a reunion or some event where you actually have two soldiers from two different parts of a fight, right? But they meet together and they find out, they discovered that they had been together at the same fight and on different sides of the same fight like that, right? Now, sometimes men are strange because men can compartmentalize things as appreciated, and men can fight for honor, men can fight for duty, men can fight for business. But when it gets to be about money and personal together, that's actually bad blood. You can fight for honor, and it doesn't have to be bad blood. You can fight for duty, it doesn't have to be blood. You can fight for queen and country, and it doesn't have to be bad blood. You can almost near about fight for family sometimes, depending on how broad and sophisticated the family is, and it's not exactly bad blood. But when it actually is personal and financial, like which actually is all those other things, your sustenance, your resources, then it's actually bad blood. So if you have bad blood with people, it could be like that many generations ago, and it still be bad blood to the present day, and it should be dangerous as soon as people would find out who each other are. But if it had been anything else arbitrary, like just for duty or just because of an oath or something like that, and I'm saying just because, but if they had been fighting for oath and stuff like that, they may actually be able to work it out and understand each other, and they may actually be a little bit bonded to each other because their narrative is the same. They're on different sides of something. Oh shit, you were there? Or even if people are on the same side of something, right? Like you guys were both like sent to war. You believed in war. You didn't believe in war, but you guys both went to this horrible setting, and you were there, and you might have been a horrible experience or not. You maybe went to a horrible place, but you never saw anything horrible happen or even had to hear about too much of it. You actually had it kind of nice where you're at, relatively speaking, and you actually enjoyed parts about it, and you missed parts about it, but you were still there in this poignant time. And so if you found out that someone else was, oh wait, you were over there where that fighting was going on, man, that was bad, man. But we were the ones preparing the food. Did you see the ones that had like, it was like a whole bunch of like had some ribbons on it? Yeah, man, that was us, man. We were in the back that whole time, man. We were the ribbon crew. Yeah, we would mostly just like play music and stuff like that, and they would let us get back to the states much more. So we're getting it in the states more. We have kids there, and then we would actually go to some of the areas there and get in too. So actually, I have kids in the states and actually here too. It's kind of cool. These are my kids here. But yeah, man, we hadn't did much more, but just the ribbons like that. But you guys had the green ones, right? Did you see that one? It was a truck of nothing but purple ribbons. Yeah, man. this shit was so horrible, man. I couldn't. Because we were getting shot at that whole time, and they took away the R&R, so we didn't actually get back to the states, and it was bad there. So we weren't even getting laid that whole time, man. And like we're losing friends and stuff like that, and it was getting so bad, man. But I remember that thing about the purple ribbons. That had been y'all. Yeah, man, that was us. But they had a different experience, but they're gonna feel bonded because they still their story, that was a real story they were part of, and it's connected like that. So we really bond over stories, but it's still our story. So it's more so this thing about us like that. That anything that means something to us is really about us more. It's not just that I care about you, but I care about that my time I care about my life, and my life, that was a unique thing in my life, and you correspond with that part of my life that reminds me about my life, which also had to do with things that were going on there, which was you too, convincingly, but it's still my thing, my life like that. So I'm saying that like a lot of us were really like thinking about ourselves. But the only thing I want to say is that if someone were really willing to risk um uh being killed, being injured, killing someone, being injured, you're willing to risk all that, right? But would you be willing to risk your ability to taste food? I'm not saying that they're not willing to do that, but that's an interesting thing because like a lot of people that say that they're so bold and brave, like they'd be willing to fight for anything, right? They don't care anymore. They don't care about nothing but this belt, right? But what is the belt about, either than to believe in yourself or to be attractive and or to enjoy yourself, your life? Because what are we doing anything for if it's not to enjoy our life? Because we only get one, and it's not very long, relatively speaking. Hope it is long, but relatively speaking, most people, it's not long a person's life. So the only thing we really get to do in this life is enjoy ourselves, either assimilating food to ourselves or assimilating progeny to ourselves, but it's still enjoying ourselves. So they would say like a lot of people that like people that been to war, like soldiers, what they're real soldiers that they've been to war, what they're more afraid of than getting shot is getting something blown off. That not just because of the pain of it, but because of the loss of it. You know, that's what people wouldn't want to do. Is like to enjoy yourself. You wouldn't be able to enjoy yourself in certain ways. Heaven forbid if something got blown off. But in the sanctioned athletics go, what would be, a lot of people might have thought like, well, what if you actually did lose your ability to taste, because you can have the taste smacked out of your mouth fighting something or someone. And I don't know like if people would be willing to do that. But I was just thinking about like this, how profound it is about like tasting things and stuff like that. But like one of the last points that I wanted to make on this, but the thing too when I was talking about genotype and phenotype is that because phenotype can skip generations, but it's you wonder if genotype can also, because genotype goes with phenotype, but phenotype is the activation of genotype. But if trends and traits can skip ancestors and progenitors at certain intervals and only come back because of certain combinations with co-parents at other intervals, then not only are you not your dad's not your father, because your dad's not all of what you're inheriting, like because you're also your mother, but also you're different by their combination, but then also of your any particular one of your parent. But like your dad, are you really all of your dad? Because your dad may carry a gene that, at least in phenotype expression, but expression is also your experience, which is also you. Fundamentally, your experience is almost as true to you as your genotype is, whatever you experience or not. Because what is your genotype without your experience to go with that? But if phenotype can skip generations, like as in Africa, like I'm saying, Africa had the diversity of all of our human diversity in appearance and ethnicity. It comes from, but is also still present, and it's still present in Africa itself prior to migration, according to people from Africa like my father. But I think scientists attest to that. But this woman said that your dad is not actually your father, but also of you, that is you, from you corresponding with your dad at least. Are you really all of your dad even, or is your dad even all of you, and even that of which of you has just come through him? Because some genes can skip generations, so can part of you that comes to you, from you, through you, from also from your parent, but which had been you prior to and within and after your parent and is still you, can there be parts of you that come into one iteration of your life and another iteration of your life and not one iteration of your life and not one and then again one upon your different iterations of existences of ancestors, which are also you still. Because sometimes you talk about ancestors like respectively as though they had not been you, but you are actually all. There's nothing of you now that wasn't attended or constituted as your ancestor, but them to you. So you're not actually, they're not actually your ancestors. They're just you. But just your dad doesn't necessarily have to be the same. You and your dad are like the same. You're a lot of your dad. And to some ways, you're the same person, but you're not exactly the same person. That's actually all human beings, not just your dad. Your body, according to Osho, your body, your experience of your body in your life is this universe's closest approach and past and statement as you. So the closest this universe comes to you is actually you, which might be why we're identified with ourselves and we can only understand or enjoy or think of ourselves because we actually do love the universe and people as we claim to, but we don't know it or get to experience it normally other than as us. So which is why we're so feel a way about us under normal circumstance. But you could say that you're so you're all people, but you're also unique unto yourself. You're your parent and your ancestors, but you're also unique unto yourself because of the combination of your most recent attendant corresponding parent or a counterpart parent, but also there may be parts of you as your other existences in your father and your line that are intervallic, so that you may not actually be the same as your father in terms of phenotype. May I don't know if you say genotype, how that's actually yet deeper than I can understand or articulate, because the genotype is what you are, the phenotype is the expression of what you are, but that you impacted by the choices you're making and the things you're doing and consuming, which is also what you are and the expression. And it's been a reason arguable whether that's interchangeable or affected by things like post-traumatic trauma, and even as I've seldom but sometimes heard post-traumatic growth. I think it's Nassim Nicholas Taleb that referenced post-traumatic growth and that distinction, but how it's not always referenced. But I just want to say is that I picked that up from that lady, is that you may not, your dad is your dad, but is not exactly what you would think of as father, and it can be redundant. But also sometimes there may be a cost to thinking someone's dad as their father, or even their mom as their mother, because you could probably make the same thought process go along the mother line like that. And that might be why sometimes it seems like our parents don't always have our best interests, or at least understand our best interests, both, some combination thereof. And it might be because of things like that. It's because they're not exactly who you thought they were, but you're also not exactly who they thought you were, and you're also not exactly them, as you didn't actually appreciate you actually are not exactly them, because you know you're not your parent, but you still think you're theirs. But you may also neither be theirs nor neither be them, and that would explain why it was so rough and thick with family sometimes, but also so beautiful, because that sometimes they really do help you as they didn't have to, and that's equally as beautiful when your parents help you as they didn't have to. That's equally as beautiful because things are balanced like that. But the last thing I want to say, I was talking about like some great people. I was talking about like Jake Paul and Mark Zuckerberg. But I wanted to make one more statement: is that is it possible that? But I was also saying that sometimes like this thing about like influencers fighting, like Mark Zuckerberg being a connoisseur and actually a student of fighting MMA stuff, as there's been video footage to proliferate. Um, I think that a lot of that footage would have to be real, or it wouldn't get to fly. But Jake Paul also claimed that he enjoys fighting and he makes money with it. But I'm saying that they've also been compensated as influencers, both like on the social media side, like with Jake Paul and Mark Zuckerberg. But then like prior to like even prior to YouTube, Jake Paul was already technically an influencer, like with some of the those different like legacy network media companies that he references, but they were compensating him, so they would have actually had a stake in being able to somewhat call something of a shot somehow at some level in his career then, and then segueing potentially into social media. And then it actually does. You mentioned that you came up, and I don't mean to be just drawing heat with him. That's it for a deeper point. So you mentioned that you came from these legacy media companies and you were famous, and that you were known like that. You were famous like that, but you were also compensated like that. But you're not about that type of time now because you're over on the fight side now, right? But before you had got to that far, you were like content creator, YouTuber, pioneering YouTube, one of the best pound for pound. Ain't taking no shots, no shade with none of that. None at no level of that. The older stuff, the YouTube stuff, and the present stuff. I'm not taking a shot at that. It's teachable. But even so, from the legacy media to the YouTube to uh the fighting, when exactly where did the influence of the older media, legacy media company, how did that segue into you doing your own thing, calling your own shots, even with the social media? Then when you did the social media, did you completely call your own shots? Did you take were you coached? But also, did you have any oversight that was actually contractual oversight? How did the oversight, the contractual oversight, go from the older legacy media to the self style boss type, original, pioneering, badass, hilarious, daredevil YouTube stuff that was no pushover? Then that too to the fighting stuff now. um and so had they ever, and to what degree, had oversight, but also did they have actual real leverage at any of that point? So I'm saying, because you have been compensated at any level, you can't entirely isolate where the compensation would have stopped, or how that would dictate, or at least just influence, if not even inspire to. Inspiration is still a form of influence. How are you to an influencer influenced by your very modes of compensation that can amount to oversight, such that you could say that some of these influencers, which now influencing is the higher part and the main part, and the more empowered part of being a politician, which politics affects money, affects all of life on earth. The all of life is impacted by finance, finance is impacted by politics, and now politics is dictated by social media. Social media is managed by, not ran, not owned, but managed by influencers. Even Mark Zuckerberg himself is just an influencer, because he doesn't have outright control, I don't think, over Facebook. I don't think that'd be possible with something that big and sophisticated, but also that gets paid, because even Facebook gets cut a check when people when people pay for advertising on Facebook, they're still actually cutting Facebook a check. And even to different lesser degrees, when people engage Facebook, they're cutting Facebook a check. So Facebook itself has to check in with who pays Facebook, which is the advertisers and the users. Even though Facebook is winning with it, it's still like a reciprocal what's the word, it's like a co like a all of life is actually codependent. You can't get past codependent. All of life is interdependent. You can't get past interdependence. Try as we may. You can get to codependence, which is bad. Independence may be sexy, but not entirely viable. But the best you can do is a manageable interdependence. But these the social media companies, that both the buyer and the seller, the user and the dealer, as attention goes, like of media of all radio, like radio of old, television, TV, film, entertainment, video game, and reality television on streaming. Then different levels of on-demand things, on-demand music consumption, on-demand social media, on-demand gaming, on-demand social media, all the way up like that. It's all upon the means of radio, and like I was saying, like the harmonics of Pythagoras. But then that too, it's a reciprocal give and take. It's like uh, um, um, I'm trying to think of like when um, it's like a mutually beneficial relationship, such that no one gets to call their shots entirely at any level. I don't think that we can conceive, that we can imagine. So therefore, uh, um, therefore, um, everybody can potentially be told what to do somehow or somewhere, especially once compensation is on the table. So you could say that none of these, even the influencers, they don't own and they don't run outright social media, even as they would have a person believe that, but they can manage it better. But partly their appearance of seeming to own it or seeming to manage it well helps them to manage it well. But you could still say it begs the difference of whether that if politics if the world is reigned in by money, they used to say the Almighty. I don't know if you can actually say money is the Almighty anymore. It's still, for intensive purposes, the realities of privilege and advantage is what was money was called Almighty. But beyond money, even with money, money is not viable outside of politics because you can have all the money, right? You can be wealthy, you can be balling, you can be flaunting or concealing your money, but you can get knocked over about some money. Like if you're flaunting it, you can get robbed. Like current like certain genres of entertainment now. But even if you were honest, you were tucking it away nice and neat, like the old types, like you're tucking away nice and neat, but someone somehow somewhere some way somebody knows what you're capable of and or what you have and or where you may have it. So even if you were low key out the way, man, I just like to get the money, man. Fuck the fame, I'm about the money. Yeah, but somebody, even the people that you're famous with, like procuring these deals, like you do some sexy anonymous Black Friday deal online that they're gonna put some attention to do you something real nice like that. Yeah, you're famous now because somebody knows that damn that fool, that number, da da da, and just afforded that shit. That's kind of impressive. But also, who is that person? So you're actually famous. If you can't actually have wealth and not be famous just because you'd have to be impressive to someone around wealth, and you know you're impressing yourself by impressing someone, even if it's one person discreetly, you're still impressing someone with wealth, so you're thereby famous like that. Where two or three agree and shout, where two or three know about something cool, then someone is famous. So you um um the but so it's just so all of life it has to it's not far away from realities and implications of money and bartering and dealing, but that is also not that's not viable away from or apart from or any different than politics. And that's actually just wealth is actually just a form of wealth is an iteration of politics. I think that finance and money is an institution. It's like a fluid human institution. Who so you have a so you're in a institution, right? You're in that horrible school that sucked when you were a kid, right? At that institution, they get to, but every once in a while, that whole year sucked. That whole thing sucked. But the last day of the last day of the last day, you guys actually got to eat these cool popcorn balls, right? But somebody had to say about who got to eat what popcorn ball. And yeah, you guys all you guys are gonna get one. Slow down. Everyone's gonna get one, but you only get one, buddy. I saw. Don't try that. You only get one. But no, but he didn't get one. Make sure he got one. And so wasn't here. Make sure he did get his popcorn ball, right? But then money's like that too, because money's like an institution that we take in our pocket and everywhere, and it just serves. So we're at the place where you can have all the popcorn balls you want, right? You're grown now and shit, right? You can eat all the popcorn that ain't healthy for you and shit, right? Yeah, but so much as you can afford. So you can walk into the, you just work for a whole year, right? What'd you do with that whole, oh, you have a fetish about popcorn balls. You spent a year's worth of livelihood on popcorn balls. Oh, cool. You like popcorn balls that much? Oh, well, we have deals about buying in bulk. You may even have to do buy two deals. We won't be able to get all in 1 week, but we can go all you want. So you want to buy this? Okay, so you can buy this many bushels of popcorn balls, right? And we even put a couple extras on there for you, right? But no more than that. So that's the institution of money saying dictating what you can and can't have. But that is the higher is uh, social media, and social media is actually politics par excellence now because it's narrative, and narrative is what runs politics even more than influential. You can be the most influential person in the world, right? You have all the swag, you have all the charisma, you have all the talking points, you have all the oratory, you have all even some of the wealth and money, right? But when your story go bad, when your story go bogus, none of that matter because the story is still pivotal and the most because the story is the most convincing thing about like, oh, that's a nice person, but did you hear about what? No, wait, what happened? That person did what? After the oh, but that did who have oh, but the what? So narrative is really it's that's on most things can't override a person's free will like based on like our understandings of like faith generally speaking in the world. Most things can't outright override a person's free will, and even things that would be inimical, they require a degree of they require a degree of cooperation such that there's still free will and choice involved. But narrative is damn near overpowering to the point of overriding someone's free will. The right narrative spin can have someone do anything, right? Like it is fucking cold outside. I'm not going outside for nothing. But then someone come out, hey man, did you know that there's actually there's a bus going by like right now? It's late right now, but there was a bus going by of nothing but elementary school students taking a trip somewhere, and that thing broke down right there, and it's so cold actually that they can't get the services out there. Can you come out and help us? We got to get them to we got to do something for these people, these little people stranded out there in the cold right now. Oh shit, you go change you change whatever you're about to do or not, whether someone was lying to you or not, because the narrative will have you think what you never want to do, what you never intended to do, what you never could do, what you can't do, what you don't want to do, what you want to do, but even do it better. Narrative will have you doing what you never. So, like for example, I was talking about some of the conflicts overseas, right? In the wars leading up to them. A lot of people in the services, not even people that would know or not know about services, but people, actual service members, they didn't know what they were signing up for, but that too, they didn't know why they would sign up for it, and they may not have signed up for it if it wasn't for a narrative that was spent, right? Like nine some even you hear that word. I'm gonna say it this way. You hear 9/11. 9/11 sounds overpowering, overbearing. That those letters like that. 9/11. Does not remember you of all the like think of all the most important people in your life, right? The people that just ran shit, right? Now your parents were bigger than life, realer than life, bigger than dinosaurs. Your parents were more formidable to you and convincing to you than a damn T Rex waking you up for school in the morning. Good morning. It's time for school. Oh, mom, did you make food? Yes, I did. It's waiting to go. You have the waffles, just like you like. But be quick because the bus is gonna come soon, baby. It's a T Rex, right? That was starting to sound like a soft ass T Rex right there, right? But hurry up, it's time for school. We gotta go. So what I'm saying is that your your parents, but also what was behind your parents coming up to your face to wrangle you off for school, it was as formidable, but also indefatigable. That means inexhaustible, as an actual T Rex had come wake you up for school. That's how hella serious school is. But also penalties would have been for your parents if they didn't get down with the time like that. But when you got to school, the people that were actually running the school and the most important thing in school, more than your teacher, if you actually look at the sub communication of your parents, who handed off, who take care of you. They have your life in your hand, as you know that as a child. They hand you off to the maybe the bus driver. The bus driver is a little bit cool because like as a kid, you're like, man, school sucks. My teachers suck. But the bus itself isn't as bad as school, or sometimes the bus can be worse than school. Heaven forbid. Like, and that's why bullying is so serious. I can say that when I was a bus driver, I didn't stand for bullying. Like I didn't stand for bullying. I put my money where my mouth is. I did not stand for bullying or like even like accosting like students like romantically. Like when students would I wasn't like trying to I wasn't trying to interfere with with young people being young people because that's just whack. Like what I'm saying is like if people were laughing, this and that, they're having conversations, but it's not all the way appropriate. I don't give. I'm not one to bat an eye at that. But if they actually make another student feel uncomfortable like that, like really like kind of like pressing them, like if a student would just make another student feel uncomfortable at all, like whether there's like they're the same sex, same gender, different gender, whether it's like in terms of like any form of anything that would make a student feel uncomfortable, unsafe to be on the bus, then I'll do the best I can. But it's actually still very difficult because if you have a lot, you can't actually what people don't appreciate until they come into leadership is that you can't control people. You can inspire them, you can lead them, you can influence them, you can reprimand them, which nowadays it just means to write them up or to seem less than pleased with them. But I still think that can get on the lines of being overbearing and like not in a person's interest is to sell or present like not being pleased with them. But because the only thing that you can do as a leader is inspire people and be cool to people and benefit people and be workable with people. And so if people like you for you, or the deeper thing would be like is the way people like when they or the way people feel when they're around you. That's actually what people are responding to. It's not how cool you are, how clever you are, how tough you are, how mean you are, how nice you are, how weak you are. It's none of that. It's really how they feel around you is how they would like to be around you or not, or how they would respond to your also pleasure or not. So if someone really likes you, they like the way you feel, and they like the way that the way that they feel around you, the way that they feel around you when you're pleased and when you're not pleased. That's going to be what dictates how they engage you, is actually the way they feel around you. So if you don't have any traction, rapport, banter, not maybe not banter, but if you don't have any rapport, because you don't have to say anything to have rapport. If you don't have the right rapport that amounts to, would you call that pull, but it's more so actually rapport when it's well, then you have no control people, because you can't lay a finger on someone nowadays. It is for the better. You can't lay a finger on another person, man, woman, child. You can't lay a finger on another person. You damn sure can't touch their mouth. So what the hell are you gonna do about what someone says or does at any point, other than tell on them? So, but telling on people ain't a cool thing. Like as the West goes, as the culture goes. So even if you have a seat of position where it's your job to tell on people when they mess up, that still could have blowback, and that doesn't look good or forebode well for you or help you very much. If help telling on people doesn't help when they're doing you wrong, but sometimes telling on people doesn't necessarily help when you're in leadership. It's the right thing to do. It's the appropriate thing to do, but it doesn't make the situation better always, and it doesn't make your pull and rapport and experience and success better, which you need for all that to work. So I'm not saying to I wouldn't be one to not classify something that would need to be classified, but I'm just saying that I I lost the train of thought a little bit, but I um I'm more so I lean towards the rapport, but we can't damn, where's I going with that but so the only thing that we have that's tractable in all of life is going to be politics. Leading anything is about politics. Leading a church is politics. Leading a bus is politics. Leading your own behavior inside around neighbors, even if you're a single bachelor, leading your own behavior around neighbors can amount to politics, and all that it gets reined in by influence, and it's a form of influence. But narrative is near about overwhelming and overpowering. So the so narrative will have a person but when you're in school, these you if you look at the sub communications, but also the actual power dynamics and arrangements between your parents and the school. Now the school bus, it may have been funner than the school. It may have been a place to catch a breather. It's kind of like when you're asked about to get smoked at a workout. You know the workout about to be harder than hell, harder than shit. If you knew better, you shouldn't have chose that. Or if you had it chosen for you, that's bad. But if you chose it, you can do. I think you can do anything you choose to do. So if you choose something for yourself, you can damn well do it, and it don't gotta be difficult. It ain't gotta be scary if you're choosing it. And if you choose something, you can choose to do it and not do it. Some things are like a Rubicon. So like if you're going for a workout, like you're going hiking or something like that, you pass a certain threshold of distance or proximity or affinity with people and things and places, and you can't come all the way back immediately, because there's some things about steps of a Rubicon, like crossing a river, not necessarily burning a bridge, but also burning a bridge. Once you cross certain thresholds, you can't you can't all the way come. It's like say you partake of something, right? You partake of ganja. Ganja ain't the best thing in the world. It ain't the worst thing in the world. But once you've undertaken it, you have to ride it out, because it can't. It's a process at play. You've initiated something. You've engaged a process. You've initiated a process in your own physical body that's deeper than you think it is. Like when you're consuming alcohol, heaven forbid, if it would be too much, heaven forbid, you've initiated a process in that very. That's actually your initiation, and as much as that same way you feel like that, you can't undo that the same way that you started it, unless you just don't do it in the first place. So prevention is worse than pound and cure, but initiation, you can't uninitiate both, like what you would consume and certain activities, like assuming responsibilities, or like being extended from like resources and things like that. But like being on a bus, it's a little bit like a breather like that. So the bus driver, they may seem cooler than the students, because the students can say, yeah, this bus driver, I gotta mind my behavior around this bus driver, but I also don't gotta turn in homework to them, or they're not gonna be reprimanding me and disciplining me the same way as a teacher, or I'm not gonna be stuck with them the same way as a teacher. So a bus driver can be like a little bit of a cool reprieve and just an example of a regular adult holding down a job. So part of the benefit of a bus driver is that the students get to see what an adult looks like. And when they look at that, like back in the day, they might have thought that that bus driver was dumb, that they didn't get to go to college. Or now they might think that, damn, that bus driver was smart enough not to go to college. So it's just like things kind of sway like a pendulum. So some of the things that people look down at bus drivers in the past, they might actually have esteem for them now because it ain't the worst gig and it paid well. Like so students might actually have esteem for a bus driver, but the bus driver would be different. It's not the bus driver is not they're actually not a school official. A bus driver is not a school official. They're a contracted service. They're a transportation professional contracting and working under the auspices, parameters, and pleasure and authority of a school district and or school, but they're actually not school district officials, school officials, teachers, or anything of that. They're actually just they're allied, proximate satellite professionals, transportation professionals. So the school bus driver is a little bit of an exception to the rule, but it's still not different than the rule, as they're demanded to be, and the students are accountable to the school bus drivers. But once the student gets into school, they see all these officials and they see like, okay, this is my mom. She's nice to the bus driver, but the bus driver is also nice to them, like they owe them something. But like that is to like to not fuck up around like their duties in doing that job. So the bus driver is almost like a little bit serving. They're serving the families. They're serving the parent, but they're also respectful of the parent, such as one that is serving someone. So the bus driver is not like as impressive, I don't think, to a student in the eyes of a student while in front of their parent. But unless the bus driver is just that savvy and cool as a person, and that's just how they would otherwise be anyway. But when you get onto the school side, then the student really see how then they flip a little bit where the parent is a little bit more deprecating and differential towards the other school officials, like the teachers, the staff at the office, maybe some of the medical people, maybe some of the social people, whether the parent knows their role or not. And then some of those people that would do like security at the school or different forms of leading the students, they may be similar to the bus driver where they're allied professionals, satellite professionals, and they're not outright actually school. They're not actually teachers. Like they're like you have a security officer. The security may or may not work for the school itself or the school district itself. They may just work for a security company that's contracted with the schools. Like sometimes you'd have like police officers. When I was in high school, there'd be real police officers in the school like that. I don't know if that was normal, if that's an inner city thing, but we'd have real police officers, and you could get your ass in that much of trouble with a real police officer right there. So you have the school to prison pipeline right there, as they would say, for better or worse. But some of those police in the school, they're kind of strange because in some ways they're actually meaner than regular cops because they're ready for like young people to be out of pocket, and potentially, and they know how young people can be as out of pocket and be as costly to themselves and others as an actual versed adult criminal, a student could be like that. But the police in the schools, they're kind of like a little bit, they could be more savvy than a regular police officer because they see like because kids are already a little bit I think that young people, they have certain blessings and graces around deception as a survival reality in the human experience. So human children can be appreciably deceptive. And so that might actually be redoubled and more so in like in a high school setting or a middle school setting for a police officer, and they probably could appreciate a statement like that and attest to that and have like stories to go with that. But then also those students they're having some of their first gifts and propensities as adults, both for physical activity and the machinations and politics that are what life is. But then the other officials in the school, like some of them, whether they're having rank or not, whether they're actually like high ranking or not, whether they're actually real teachers or not, some of those officials in the school, they're more and more convincing in terms of real, actually powerful people in front of children. So like, and in front of the children while their parents are present, the actual officials are like that because like you've seen your parents like the way they sound to you but you see them around the right official and the parents are on their best behavior. It's because they actually want what's best for the child, but also they are accountable to the school system because they're actually not free people. We're not free people in the geographical region of the United States. So these actual school officials, they're some of the closest that the state comes to you. So that you have like Uncle Sam, right? Everyone joke about Uncle Sam, but have you ever seen what? Can you describe what Uncle Sam looks like other than those stupid drawings, right? You've actually seen Uncle Sam before, or his extensions. You've seen his nose. You've seen his tentacles before. These different people come in your life. Like you have to check in with the. You sometimes Uncle Sam is actually a little bit friendlier, and well put together, and more discreet and subtle than you would think. Like you go to prepare your taxes, and there's a tax man. You just spill the beans. You tell I actually damn near spill the beans while I'm saying that, but you spill the beans about all your goings on, all the things that you can afford, that you can't afford, that you pay for, that you don't pay for, that you don't pay for, where you pay for, all that stuff. You're telling that for that. You're telling that, but he's also nice about it. Oh yeah, so they actually know your business better than you do. By the time that you get done preparing your taxes, right? They ask you the right questions. They go back and they look at you on paper by the statements that you make, that you're forced to make, but also by the questions that they would give you, that you never thought about yourself like that. Oh, I never thought about how much money I went and how much actually went to Social Security, and that it says some of that in the check, but I never actually thought about it. There it is right there. But I also never thought about how much it adds up over a year. By the time they get done asking those questions, those surveys, they know your life better than you, and they also know your degree of honesty and dishonesty better than you, and your actual real the line of the gray area better than you, what it would seem like, what they're going to tell. It's funny, like you got the tax man there, right? Oh, don't even worry about that. So I recommend, what I recommend is that you put this one like that, right? Because yeah, you said you worked like 100 hours, but you weren't sure about that thing about Christmas because it was like time and a half, and you said your boss didn't tell you right about if it was time or half, like especially that day, right? Yeah, that thing, it tends to happen in that kind of field. I wouldn't worry about it. I don't think you're gonna hear much about it. If you just simply, I would say, you round off this now. This is what I'm gonna put. If it would be a problem, bring this back to me. If there's any kind of problem, bring this form back to me. We'll look at it again and we can put that out. And as long as it's before the end of the month, it won't make a difference like that. And you should be good to go because that's how I've seen it happen like that a lot. But yeah, you're on your way, man. I think this year you're gonna get a nice return this year, man. It's not gonna be $1,000. It's gonna be 997 dollars. They act like that's a lot of money to them. Like $997 is gonna be right there in your account like that. This and that. You didn't get 1,000 this year, but you got 997. Hey man, maybe next year be 998, right? Cause you were here last year. It was 996 last year, right? Man, you always do spot on like that. You must do about the same hours. You must not even miss like 1 minute on the clock like that. Man, that's incredible, man. See you next time. No, not only did he prepare that and 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 protect you from Uncle Sam if Uncle Sam got the wrong sniff of something, that was Uncle Sam, one of them. But they're also not different, even though they would look different, and they're comparing notes, and they have like similar values, maybe different eccentricities. That's Uncle Sam, every one of them. And if you would have really fucked up bad about that, if they could sniff it out about that, they're not necessarily different than an auditor because you didn't know that. This year he prepares the statements. Next year he's an auditor, or this week this week he's a he because his actual profession is, because you don't know all those people that prepare your taxes, right? Yeah, they volunteer, right? That you didn't see how they put that one past you. They do different things for work. They're going to school for finance, this and that. They're over here. No, no. A lot of them actually have real jobs the whole year, not just tax season, but tax season too. They're auditors for the IRS. I'm making an example, hypothetical. Someone could be auditor for the IRS the whole year, and also that very day that you're doing your taxes. But they also moonlight, that is, get a little bit extra bank on the top by preparing these taxes, but also seeing people what they say out their mouth and the papers that go with it while they're preparing their taxes. How better of an auditor could you be than to be an auditor and still be an auditor and moonlight as a tax service, especially like for low income people like that, but probably they try to do slicker shit with the rich people too. You do the rich, you're an auditor like that during you're auditor by day, auditor by night, but also volunteer by night while auditing at night, and also you can't not be what you are. Like a judge is still a judge even in front of his wife. An auditor is still an auditor even while volunteering to prepare tax documents. But they had to have a sniff about you. But it's not that you got really. But if you really had, say you really got one past, you thought you got one past the IRS, right? It's not. It's not that it wouldn't even necessarily be that they even give a damn that you had even got that one by them, right? They're like, so they're preparing taxes, right? They're always improving things, right? So they're an auditor by the day, but they're volunteering for taxes at night. Then while they're volunteering for taxes at night, something doesn't look right about your numbers, or you make a bogus, contradictory, falsifiable statement out your mouth and or on paper that confirm or just make it blatantly apparent that you're not all the way congruent or forthright about what you're doing with the taxes like that, right? There may be a conflict of interest and an actual discrepancy about what they can press you for while having full knowledge of the fact that you're egregious on something, and also working for the type of people that take people to task for being egregious about something, right? They're not gonna be that simple minded to come out and check you on that. Oh, by the way, I just want to know, gotcha, buddy, because I had these